Live at 5 on your evening news, Kobe Bryant died doing what he loved, being a father. A chapter of the icon's life played a role into his legacy.
I've asked him this too before. I've been like, you ever wish you had a son?
We talked to Triangle fathers about what being a girl dad means to them.
Case that the statement was.
The president's legal team wraps up opening statements on why President Donald Trump should not be removed from office. What lies ahead for the Senate impeachment trial in Washington, and discrimination based on your hairstyle could soon be a civil rights violation. How a new bill in Congress is doing more than supporting a fashion statement. Your evening news starts right now, live at 5 o'clock. I'm Tara Hershout alongside our meteorologist Vernon Turner. And Vernon, it turned out to be just a beautiful day today.
Yeah, a big change from the rainfall we dealt with this time yesterday. We dealt with those showers, but today was just raining sunshine.
I love it.
Over the area. Yeah, it was great. A lot of people out and about. We actually caught one person outside, or should I say one duck outside. Yes, definitely enjoying the water and enjoying the sunshine as we move through a beautiful day, still dealing with that beautiful sunshine as we check in live.
Thanks, Vernon. Developing now, a powerful earthquake strikes in the Caribbean between Cuba and Jamaica. The U.S. Geological Survey says a 7.7 magnitude quake hit this afternoon. It centered a little more than 80 miles northwest of Montego Bay, Jamaica, and about 80 miles southwest of Cuba. A tsunami threat has been issued for Caribbean islands. Reports say the earthquake could be felt strongly, but there are no immediate reports of injuries or severe damage. City officials in Miami say several South Florida buildings were evacuated as the forceful quake sent shocks that could be felt as far away as the Sunshine State. Of course, we'll continue to update you as more information is released in this developing story. And if you were in the central part of the state this morning, did you feel a shake? The U.S. Geological Survey reports that a 2.3 magnitude earthquake rocked a small community near Greensboro. The epicenter was reported about 5 miles southeast of the Gate City near Forest Oaks. The report says the quake stretched nearly 4 miles. 2 other minor earthquakes have been tracked in neighboring states just in the past month. Today, the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office said all 9 bodies had been recovered in the helicopter crash that killed basketball legend Kobe Bryant and his young daughter, Gianna. Now it's working to identify them. This as Los Angeles leaders work closely with the city to properly memorialize Bryant and support his family during the funeral planning process. The LA mayor asked already that the city flags be lowered to half staff, and LA landmarks are lit in Lakers purple and gold. And with all of this, the bond between Kobe and his daughters has been well documented. Many of the touching tributes circulating on social media revolve specifically around the dynamic between Kobe and his 4 daughters, especially Gigi. Our Spectrum News reporter Evan Siri talked to Triangle fathers with daughters of their own about what being a girl dad means to them.
4 girls. Are you joking? Like, what would you think? How would you feel?
The late Kobe Bryant was once asked that very question. This was his response.
Without hesitation, he said, I would have 5 more girls if I could. I'm a girl dad.
When ESPN anchor Elle Duncan shared that story with the world Monday night, it went viral. Girl dad began to trend.
You should see the home video.
The home video.
It's just him waiting. Like something funny must have just happened.
Alexa Tessany says her father, Bob, who has 3 daughters.
I've asked him this too before. I've been like, do you ever wish you had a son?
Is the ultimate girl dad.
He's always been so dedicated as a dad, and he really cares about like what we're doing.
For the Tessanys in Durham, the circulating images of Bryant spending time with his daughters bear striking similarities.
Like, wow, that could be me and my daughters. You know, we have tons of pictures or videos of us at things, you know, whether it's our own little local schools, watching them play sports.
Yeah, we didn't give this one any eyes.
40 minutes south in Fuquay Arena is girl dad Taj Wilson.
When my wife found out she was pregnant, I was hoping for a boy.
Wilson confessed at first he wanted a boy to continue his legacy.
He's crazy. What else can we give him?
You can imagine how he feels now.
Now that I am a girl dad, I feel like my daughter can do whatever she wants to, and you're not going to tell her that she can't.
As Wilson raises his 3-year-old daughter, he says he always keeps Kobe's famous Mamba mentality in mind.
It's like that toughness, but you still have to be gentle and caring also.
It's what these fathers are best at, teaching and caring for their daughters.
The only small source of comfort for me is knowing that he died doing what he loved the most, being a dad, being a girl dad.
Evan Siri, Spectrum News.
Happening now at 9, another night of protests in North Carolina. Large groups, hundreds of people in the streets of downtown Raleigh and uptown Charlotte. The demonstrations in Raleigh going from the state capitol to the executive mansion and then back to the state capitol. That is where we start our scene coverage with our Spectrum News anchor Tim Boyum, who just arrived in downtown Raleigh within the last hour. Tim, what is the situation now?
Well, Rob, you described it really well there. The mansion over here to the state capitol, back to the mansion, and now we are back at the state capitol. There was a big group over at the mansion, and then all of a sudden a group of probably 30 or 40 police started marching its way over to the state capitol. A lot of those same protesters then came with them. We followed suit, and as soon as we got here, we saw the tear gas go off and the crowds disperse again. Now, since that has happened, a crowd has begun to gather again here at the end of the street, and we just saw a huge crowd move its way over that direction, but they're sort of congregating just to get your bearings here. The state capitol is just to the right of the camera screen. And if you remember us last night, if we can point down the street here, this is Fayetteville Street. And there was a bang. There goes the tear gas again. Be careful, Wyatt. Here comes the crowd again. Someone just fell over one of the statues on the Capitol. Obviously, there was some sort of confrontation. What I can tell you is there were police lined up on the street over there in front of the Capitol on the other side there. And again, this is playing out much like it did last night. Although I will tell you, I'm just arriving on the scene, but this is a significantly less sized crowd than we saw last night. There was a loud bang of some site up into the crowd. Wyatt, let's back up. We're not quite sure what that was. We're going to keep backing up, though. The crowd is now running. Let's stay back from the people here just to be sure. There goes another smoke bomb down the street. So again, this is not quite the same size crowd that we'd seen the other night, but there is just as much action going off. And there's a huge tear gas. Wyatt, they just tear gas. They're throwing. Wyatt, come on, we got to back up, buddy. There's another one that just dropped. It's the tear gas going there, are shooting it much further towards the protesters, and you can see it.
Let our Tim Boyum go for a moment.
George Floyd's life ended at the mercy of a Minneapolis police officer. His last words, "I can't breathe."
You changed the world, George. What we endeavor to achieve is equal justice for the United States of America.
His death sparks a nationwide movement for change. Thousands take to the streets here in North Carolina, calling for reform for racial inequalities.
No justice, no peace, no I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Born in Fayetteville, Floyd's roots are planted here in North Carolina. And today, the Carolina community sheds their tears only to see the mission to fight injustice grow.
We will all united as a people who are God's children seek justice in his name.
Hello, and thank you so much for joining us live at noon here on Spectrum News. I'm Caroline Blair. The community is coming together and remembering the life of North Carolina native George Floyd today. A memorial service got underway more than an hour ago. And joining me now from that memorial service in Rayford is our Capitol Tonight anchor Tim Boyum. And Tim, you have been there all morning long, and this is certainly an emotional day, especially for those there at the service who are coming in, and it sounds like from all over the country.
Yeah, Caroline, no question about that. Thank you so much, and thank you all for joining us for our coverage today. We have our David Ivey joining us here on the scene, as well as our Mary Helen Jones. We're going to go to them in a few moments. But as you're right, it has been a very emotional morning. The body of George Floyd in the hearse and his gold casket arrived shortly after 9:30 this morning. A huge crowd, cars as far as you could see down the main road out here, a huge line of people waiting to get inside. As you mentioned, we have seen people from all over the country. One woman we talked to drove 8 hours from Georgia just this morning to go inside. For those folks, it was very emotional. The sheriff of Hoke County, Peterkin, talked to us in the 10 o'clock hour. He was very emotional as both an African American and in law enforcement. So it has been something to behold and watch this morning. A lot of emotions with that, but also a lot of hope for these folks. Let's bring in our Mary Helen Jones now, who's been here throughout the morning and now the afternoon with us as well. Mary Helen, there has just been so much going on as we're talking about, a lot of emotions too.
A lot of emotion, Tim, but a lot of people I've spoken with have called it bittersweet. There have been some incredible moments of support from the community, from those over 100 bikers coming through to the cowboys coming through on horseback to show their support. But like you, look at this video of the bikers. It was really incredible, and it was so loud for so long, that revving of the engines to honor George Floyd, who is laying in rest here today. Like you, I've been speaking with people from all over. I spoke just a few minutes ago to a young couple who drove here from Kentucky. They said they had the protests there in Kentucky, but nothing was going to stop them from coming here. They were thankful to the Floyd family for giving them the chance to come here and show their respects, but they said it was so hard when they walked in. The woman I spoke with, she said she wanted to look away, but she knew she couldn't. She knew she had to face this moment straight on to fully understand what was happening. And I also spoke to another woman. Her daughter was murdered at the age of 21, and she said that when she walked in, all she could hear was that video of George Floyd calling out for his mother. Take a listen.
That was emotional for me because his mother was gone, but yet he still cried her name. So for the family to do this, we thank you, we appreciate it, we'll never forget it.
Tim, those people that we've been speaking with saying that they came here to show their respect, but also because they want to be a part of history. They know that this is a groundbreaking moment in history that they just could not stay at home for, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. The stories that people are sharing with us have been just remarkable, and we thank them for sharing those stories. By the way, the memorial, that will take place about 3 o'clock this afternoon. It's going to be a private service. This is the public viewing that is taking place. That ends in the 1 o'clock hour. But we have seen people, as I mentioned, lined up near the street and down the street for hours now here in Rayford, which is just west of Fayetteville. And Fayetteville is where George Floyd was born 46 years ago. Let's bring in Spectrum News reporter David Ivey with more on what he has seen. And David, boy, you've been out there seeing those crowds for hours now.
Yeah, and it's been steady. It's been steady. People, the line is not as long as it has been, but folks are still coming through. And you guys have already talked about the powerful emotion, the gut-wrenching emotion that you can feel out here. But I've also heard people talking about this as a history-making event, and it's a possible catalyst for some change. Now, joining me now is a man who can talk to us a little bit about that, Mr. Jim Hughes, a Durham attorney. Mr. Hughes, I know you had a chance to go inside, so let me first ask you about that. Tell us what it felt like to go inside this church and see that casket.
It was a very somber feeling, very quiet and respectful atmosphere. It was moving, for sure.
You and I had a chance to talk a little bit, and everybody's been feeling, we've all talked about the emotion, the intensity, the protests, but for things to change, stuff has to happen after today. You're an attorney, you know about the legal world. Just share some of your insight with us, if you would.
Well, I think the real change that needs to be made is for all these people who are out here and all the people that are protesting all over the country to go vote. Vote for city council, vote for mayors and county commissioners. They're the people that are going to make the change. And they're the people that are going to enact the ordinances that put some restrictions on police. So it's important to vote, not just for president and governor and senator, but for all these local offices.
I got to ask you this. I've got a little age on me now. I think you do too. No disrespect intended there. As far as history goes, I can remember some very intense changing events. I remember when Dr. King was killed. Where does something like this rank in that pantheon?
I think this has been a much bigger event. We've never seen protesters in all 50 states, in big cities and in small towns. People, elderly people, young people, black, white, Hispanic. This seems to have galvanized the entire community. And that's why I say if it can cause them to go forward from this and do something positive, I think this can be a sea change event.
Mr. Hughes, I thank you for joining us. Safe travels to you as you head back to Durham. Guys, again, it's just overwhelming to be out here for this event. You've witnessed the passion, you've witnessed the history, and you've witnessed what folks are hoping will be an opportunity to maybe change some things in this country. For right now, I'm going to toss it back to my colleague, Tim Boyum. Tim, just a powerful event to be at today. It really is.
It really is, David, and to hear those stories and just talk, I think a lot of people just want to talk through this in a lot of ways, and this is just the beginning. As we talked about, the public viewing goes until 1 o'clock. There'll be a short break. Incidentally, his family has not been here today. They will be at the memorial service that starts at 3 o'clock. We know some family members are expected to speak, as well as Congressman G.K. Butterfield and Congressman Richard Hudson. We will carry that live on Spectrum News. Caroline?
That's right. We're going to be here with you throughout the day. Tim, thank you so much for telling these very important stories.